What I try to do as an individual is that which is seemingly impossible. What I try to do is I try to make the religious fundamentalists and the atheists both see the stupidity of their own thought. And it's not easy for me to do that. If I say there's God, or I say there is no God, much like Gautama or something like that, Buddha, the real name of the Buddha, people assume that those two things contradict each other, but they don't. What he's saying is whether you think you know one thing or you think you know the opposite, you're in the same boat. You're in the boat of thinking that you know something that you have no experience with. This is a touchy sort of thing because many people will claim they've had near-death experiences, and they will claim this as evidence of God. It's not that I really necessarily 100% disagree with it, but these people will often come back with stupid messages of a higher part of the lower mind. It will be a message that's very dogmatic. With that being said, I've already seemingly damned my own beliefs, but I think truth is more subtle than that. And I'm not sure how to explain myself. But I know there's more to this life than material nonsense, and I know that just as I know there's no man up there, no finite human male being who made the universe in 7 days, because that's obviously ridiculous and stupid. I also know that the universe, whether it behaves as a creature that is sentient, or is a creature, or a consciousness, I should say, not even a creature, a sea of not even thought, but consciousness, which I don't even know how to explain to people. I don't even know if consciousness is really the right word. It's above consciousness, really. Whether it behaves that way or is that way, there's fundamentally no difference. People make the these erroneous arguments. What if humans really experience consciousness? What if consciousness is an illusion? What if we're alive? What if we're not alive and we just have the illusion of being alive? It's ridiculous, because at a fundamental level, how we live our lives, it makes absolutely no difference which one of those is true. It's often said that sufficiently advanced enough technology is indistinguishable from magic. I think the truth can be, I think the same exact truth can be said about so-called atheism. I add to that statement that that in order for technology to be that advanced, not only would it behave as though it were magic, but it essentially, effectively would be magic, because it would already work at such a high level that would function in a way that's magic. I mean, it's in the very description. The truth is right in front of people and they don't even see it. I think similarly, from a philosophical point of view, it can be said that if atheism was efficient enough at creating a utopia for us all to live in, based on love, based on truth, based on a fundamental high position deep within the human consciousness that can only be described as divinity, atheism would come full circle and behave much like a religion. Because in order for a utopia to exist, you can't just have belief in moral law. There has to be a deep part of you, a deep fundamental part of you as a human being that seeks to be higher than just obeying laws. That seeks to be higher than just doing good things because they're good for the environment. There has to be a part of you in which that is your being itself. And this is a very, very difficult concept for Christians or atheists to understand, and spiritual people don't explain it this way, but that's exactly what they're thinking. And I have to deal with this stuff. I have to deal with this all the time. It's these ridiculous arguments about where Santa Claus lives, talking about whether the Bible's true or not. Why can't we accept that something can be divinely inspired in a less direct point of view? Why does slavery in the Bible need to conclude that God either exists or doesn't exist? Why can't instead we look at our flaws as a human being and recognize that deep within is a part of us that is more godly? It's the only way to describe it. And seeks good, but doesn't always recognize it directly. Because we are beings that, while our conscience is not fundamentally flawed, our upbringing and our evolution certainly is in many ways. And I don't know how to explain it much better than that. I'm sure if my vocabulary was better, I could explain it better. But there are certain books in the Bible that outright condemn these things that a lot of people are trying to say. The Bible says this and the Bible says that. When are you guys going to learn that the Bible is full of philosophies? Philosophies written by different people. Saying that I believe the Bible is true in many respects in no way means that I regard each book as with the same authority and the same power. It's absolute madness to think that I believe that. It's ridiculous. I don't know what Christian in their right mind ever started believing that, but that certainly was not the original belief. I can promise you that. Deuteronomy has all kinds of examples of treat your neighbor as yourself, you know. You can't say, from an atheistic point of view, that if you went outside and you saw money on the ground, that you knew for a fact didn't belong to you, at least not from an atheistic point of view as they currently exist. You can't say that you would just leave it on the ground. That your consciousness is so high that you believe in karma at such a high level that you believe you should work for that which you've earned. And if you see money on the ground, you either give it back to the person who dropped it, or you give it to the poor people, or you just leave it alone completely and don't touch it. It seems like something that is beyond and above human nature, but it is not. It's just a part of human nature that you have not tapped into. And that is God. You can call it whatever you want. But atheism, whether you like it or not, in some way, shape, or form, if it was able to overpower all, outlive all the religions, it eventually would evolve into a religion. Because higher consciousness, whether you like it or not, is a fundamental part of what we are as a human being. That song, "You and Me, Baby, Ain't Nothing But Mammals," you can take that shit and you can throw it in a tank full of chlorine gas, because that's not going to be the reality. This type of fundamental, unity that a utopian existence would require takes a highly conscious type of people. No amount of renouncing God is going to do it. No amount of Bible thumping is going to do it either. It has to be something that comes from a deep, fundamental perspective. Otherwise, it won't work. It's never going to happen. You can try everything.